Okay, this is question number 16 from chapter 10. The question asks about the number of optimal switches. So we have a person who receives $2,000 or $2,000 in income. So this is monthly income, and basically he can have all his money in cash or buy bonds and earn interest rates. So monthly interest rate in this example is 10%. The question asks how much this person should basically, how many times he should switch and buy bonds during the month. And so the cost of switch, which is like buying government bond, in this example is assumed to be $4. Okay, so you can earn basically 10% on your monthly income if you save it all. And basically you can also split in 2 halves and earn interest rate on the number of half, or maybe into 3 equal thirds, or basically 4 times, 6 times, 7 times switches. Okay, so in order to calculate or find the number of optimal switches that maximizes your profit, and to calculate your profit, we need to discuss the your average monthly holding of money and bonds. So so let's assume we can graph this in a graph like this. Okay, so let's assume that at the beginning of the month you receive $2,000 in salary and you don't buy any bonds. Okay, and let's assume that you spend it all. So at the end of the month, your balance will go down to 0. So this is the balance. Let's assume this is April 1st. I don't have enough space, so I'm going to go right on the A1 for April. And then you receive your monthly income at the beginning of the month. And 2,000, and it goes down. And then you receive 2,000, your salary again, and at the end of the month it goes down. So your average money holding is the money at the beginning, of the month, 2,000, plus money at the end of the month, which is 0, divided by 2. So 2,000 plus 0, which is your balance at the end of the month, divided by 2. So you get 1,000. So your average monthly holding without any switches is $1,000. So now let's assume, calculate the average money holding when we have some switches. Let's assume that we have 1 switch. Okay, so let's assume now we have one switch. So now just assume that at the beginning of the month, you use $1,000. You split them into 2 equal halves. Use $1,000 to use for daily transactions, and you buy bonds with the remaining $1,000. So your money at the beginning of the month is 600, not 600, 1,000. Sorry. So 1,000, and at the maybe by the middle of the month, using our example, we start from basically March 1st. By March 15, you will use this money, and then you will withdraw the money from your bonds. You will sell them and get cash and use that money. So we'll increase over here. You will get 15, and you will use it till the end of the month, till April 1st. And then April 1st, you will get your income again, and you split it the same way. So basically, again, you use 1,000 for transactions, cash. And by April 15, your balance will be 0. And then you sell the bonds and use the bonds for daily transactions. So over here, May 1st. And then again, you receive your salary, right? Now, the average money holding in here said you started with 1,000. Always we have 1,000. And the average money holding here, average money holding is can't think of it in terms of like during the month. Is 1,000 plus 0 divided by 2. Which is equal to $500. So average money holding through like every month is $500. So notice that this is how much on average you have money. So on average, between the beginning of the month till the middle of the month, you have on average $15. Of course, you're gonna sell the bonds and get $1,000, but on average till the end of the month, you will have on average $500, which means that on average, in this case, so this is your average money holding, which means that your average bond holding is the difference between them. So it's going to be, you have 2,000, you have on average 500 money holding. The difference will be the amount of bond holding, 1,500. So let's just calculate the, do the same calculations with 2 switches. Now you switch money 2 times during the month. So over here we switched it only once. So now when you switch it 3 times, you have $2,000. Divide that by 3. So at the beginning of the month, you start with 2,000 divided by 3. You start with 666.67. Maybe towards the 10th day over here, maybe March 10, using March 10, M10, you end up with 0. And then you sell some bonds, you know, in the amount of 666. And then you use them till March 20th. And again, you sell the remaining bonds, the 666, and use them till April 1st. And in April 1st also, you know, here you receive your salary and you do the same thing. You do the 3 switches kind of scenario. So what is the average money holding in this example? So average money holding is 600 plus 0 at the end. You can calculate it throughout the month, but you need to divide that by 3. Okay, but you can use the, you know, first 10 days. You know, the average during every period will be the same throughout the month. So it's easier to do it this way. 67 plus 0 divided by 2. So you do that and you get the average money balance is equal to $333.33, which means that the average bond holding is the difference between, so the average bond holding, most of your money will be on bonds. So you have $2,000. So average bond holding is equal to $2,000 minus the average money holding, 33. You know, we can do a graph for the average money holding and do the same kind of logic, but it's easier to just subtract it. Okay, so let's just do one, maybe last example with 4 switches. So with 4 switches, so we have $2,000. You start with 500. So 2,000 divided by 4, 500. So you can't find the number of days. So you spend the 500, then you sell your bonds, 500 of your bonds, and you expend them, and you sell the remaining 500, and you spend them, okay, until you finish the money. So 500, 500, we need another one. Okay, so again, the average money holding is, you can again calculate throughout the entire period, or you can just start with the first one, 500 plus 0 divided by 2. So on average, during the month, you have 250 in cash. That's the average money holding. And the average bond holding is 2,000 minus 250 minus the average bond holding. Okay, now to answer the question, basically, you need to see how much money or profit you can make on the bonds. Okay, so I summarized this information on this Excel sheet. So on this Excel sheet, over here in the first column, we have the number of switches. In the second column in here, we have the average money holding. We did the first example. So the first with no switches, the average money holding is 1,000. And with one switch, the average money holding is basically 500. And with two switches, the average monthly holding is 33.333. Now, to calculate the average bond holding, okay, just take the difference between the income, which is 2,000, minus the average money holding. So 2,000 minus 1,000, you get 1,000. 2,000 minus 500, you get 1,500. 2,000 minus 333, you get 1,666, and so on and so forth. So you get the average bond holding. Now, you earn interest rate on the bond. In our example, we assume that you earn 10% interest rate on these bonds. So 1,000 multiplied by 1% or 10%, you get 100 in interest rate. 15 multiplied by 10, you get 150. And so forth. So you get here interest rate earned. And it's going up. And eventually, yes. So now to calculate profit, you need to know how much it costs you to buy bonds. And remember, if you are involved in the stock market, so when you buy and sell stocks and bonds, you got to pay money for these transactions. So it's not free. So now we assume that the cost is to switch is $4. Okay, so with one switch, with zero switch, if you don't switch at all, so the cost would be 0. So 0 multiplied by 4 is 0. You switch once, and the cost is 4. So 1 multiplied by 4, you get 4. 2 multiplied by 4, you get 8. 3 multiplied by 4, you get 12. And you get this column right here. So you calculate the cost of switching. And now to calculate the profit, you just subtract cost from interest. So with zero switch, you earn 100. interest, and it's going to cost you 0. So your profit is 100. With one switch, you earn 150. This costs you 4. So this is your net profit. With 3 switches, that's how much you earn in interest, because your average bond holding is 1,666.66, and it's going to cost you 8. So 2 switches, each switch costs you 4. So total cost is 8, and this is how much profit you end up with. You do the same thing for 3 switches. This is the total interest rate earned. This is total cost. This is the difference. And this is the interest rate earned for 4 switches. And this is the net profit. And notice that if you increase the number of switches beyond this, beyond 4, your total profit starts to go down. So notice that interest rate goes up. Yes, it goes up, but profit goes down because you need to take out the cost of switches. So we reach the maximum when we have 4 switches, the maximum profit. So maximum profit will be 164. Beyond that, it will go down. Now, let's see what happens if we decrease the rate of interest. If we decrease the rate of interest, you will have less incentive to switch because the opportunity cost is going down. This is another way to say that the demand for money is downward sloping, the speculative motive. So over here, if I switch this to 0.5, maybe need another 0 here. So if I make it a half, we should expect the number, the net profit, basically the number of switches would go down. Let's see, it's going to happen. So I'm going to apply this to everything here. So you see now we have 3 switches. Okay, so instead of 4. And on the other hand, if I increase this to increase the interest rate, the number of switches will go up. So people tend to demand less money in cash. So again, it's all just to tell you that we have downward sloping demand for money curve. So you see in this example now, the number of optimal switches is, I think, 6. So in 6, we reach the maximum amount of profit. Okay, let's go back to our example. So I don't think there's a formula to work it out. I think you need to work it out this way. First, find the average money holding, and then we can find the average bond holding and apply interest rate to this average bond holding, and then find the net profit and the optimal switching number. Thank you.